Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. My name's Theresa and I'm the CarbootCrafter, and I'm coming on today with this cute little Halloween project. I'm really loving Halloween this year. I've done loads of Halloween projects, which is a big change for me. I don't normally do very many, even though I love Halloween. So anyway, let me show you how much room you've got in this little box. So if I fold the handle out the way and then open up like that, you can see there's absolutely tons of room in there. I could get quite a lot of chocolate in there. Now I'm making these for the grandchildren, so I've got another 4 to go, so I thought it'd be fun to put the camera on and show you how I've made them. Now this isn't an original idea. I did see this on Pinterest, but there wasn't any measurements, so I thought, because I want to keep it to one sheet of A4, I've sat down and worked out some measurements, and I've done it a little bit boxy as well, so that there's room enough in there to get plenty in. So let me show you what you'll need. So you'll need one sheet of black A4 paper, card. This isn't particularly thick. I think it's probably about 220, maybe 280, something like that, maybe. I'm not sure. But we are strengthening it when we add the papers to it. So I'm not too worried about it being super thick or super strong. So you need one size of A4. You'll also need a strip of A4. Now if I pop that down, you'll see that this is the same length as my A4 card, but it's 2 centimeters wide, and this is going to be your handle. I did try slightly wider, but it just looked a bit odd. So that's what you'll need. You'll also need some decorative papers, and I'm going to show you how I've cut it, because what I really wanted to do was have it so that it looked like it was wrapped around. So I've got my piece here, and if you can see, the edge of that cupcake wraps around, just about wraps around there, and then at the top here you've got this lollipop, which, if I move that handle out the way, the lollipop goes into there and goes into here. It just gives you that bit more of a finished look if your papers look like they wrap around. So let me pop that away. So I'll show you how I've cut it. Now this is A4 paper, decorative paper from, where was this? The Range. So I picked this up, I think it was £1.50-ish for about 10 sheets, which I thought was quite good. So the first thing you do is you're going to cut 1.5 centimeters off the long, so your long piece. And that then I'm going to, if I grab my strip here and grab some glue, I can lay it straight down, and that is going to glue onto your long thin handle. So let me just get my glue working if I can. There we go. Just glue it all the way down. And these are just like kind of throwaway boxes, but you could keep them year on year if you make them strong enough. So let's line that up like that. So, and I've gone with the full length, so it will go end to end like that. It won't be won't have a border around all the sides, just those two. So that's my border done. Then I cut these are 8.5 centimeters. So 8.5 centimeters, and then I cut my first one. This one will go on the back, and this is at 12.5 centimeters, and this bit is waste, although it's a nice big piece, so I can use that on something else. That'll go on my back. Then I cut another piece which was 8.5 centimeters deep, and this one, my first cut was here, which is at 3.5 centimeters, so I cut that piece off. Then I cut this at 12.5 centimeters, and then I was left with 3.5 centimeters, and that's the bit that's going to wrap around like that. So my two sides like that and like that, so it wraps around. And then to get the matching top so that my pattern continues, I then cut a piece that was 3.5 centimeters wide, cut 3.5 centimeters off the one end, and then cut myself my 12.5 centimeter piece, which will then go on the top like that, and you'll have the pattern continuing from there. It'll probably make far more sense when I start gluing it down in a minute. And then I've got that nice big piece as waist. So I've got these two squares, that piece and that big piece, and that's waist. So I can pop that in my scraps box and use it for something else. So I will put the sizes of these down below, because if you've got pattern paper that doesn't need to be matched up, then it's nice and simple for you. So I'll pop that to one side to dry. Let's pop that out the way and bring in our A4 piece of card. So the first thing I'm going to do is try and find my bone folder. Where have I popped that? Okay, I'll use, oh there we'll use this one. There we go. So my first score is at 9 centimeters. So find the 9 and just score all the way down at 9 centimeters. Then I'm going to score at 13. So 10, 11, 12, 13 centimeters. So 9, 13, then at 22, so 21, 2. And then at 26. Okay, and I'm just going to flip them over and do it again, because this is very funny card. You can't see very well on here at all. So 9 centimeters, 9 centimeters at 13 centimeters, at 22 centimeters, and at 26 centimeters. Okay, so that's those, the long side. Let's turn it, and it doesn't matter which way you turn it because it's going to be scored at 4 centimeters on both sides. So 4 centimeters, and then I'm going to turn it round so that I get a true 4 centimeters. Sometimes it's not quite, look, if you look here, if I was to go from here, there's just a slight overhang on here. It's 21 centimeters and a tiny little bit. So to make sure I get a full true 4 centimeters, I've turned it all the way around. It's really important on these boxes because all your gussets on your boxes are at 4 centimeters. So anything that's a little bit different or is slightly out will stand out and make your measurements a little bit off. Okay, so I can pop my scoreboard away, and I'm going to bring in my bigger bone folder, and then I'm just going to fold on all those crease lines. And I do appreciate that on black it's much more difficult to see the crease lines on my card, so I'll just show you exactly what I'm doing and where as I do my cutting to make the box. It's a very, very simple box, and you don't have to add the handle. You can leave it without the handles if you want it, and just have it as a little treat box. But when I saw it with the handle, I thought that was such a fun Halloween box. Right, I'm just trying to find my scissors. There they are. Now what we want to do is, so this is my, I turn it the way I've scored it. So this is the 9 centimeter, then the 13, then the 22, then the 26. So this end is going to be the top of the box. So that's the bit that we tuck in. So I want to get rid of these two squares here. So there's those two squares here. So I'm going to get rid of those two and these two on this side. And then I've got a 9 centimetre strip here, 4 by 9. And then I've got a 4 by 4. So I'm going to use these two as my tabs, and then I've got the other end. So I'm going to grab my scissors, and what I'm aiming to do is to remove the whole of the score line. If I turn it that way, you might see it a bit better. So we've got our score line there, so I'm coming this side of it because I want to remove the score line, and I'm going all straight down to that intersection where my two score lines meet, and then I'm going to come in from the side on a slight diagonal and remove that piece. So I've completely removed the score line and slightly more just to get rid of a little bit of bulk. But I've not gone too mad, it doesn't have to be huge. Again, I'm going to remove this score line, so I'm coming this side of the score line just over, and I'm just going to cut down the side of that score line to that intersection again, and then again coming in from the side and getting rid of that score line. So now I've got my tab. I don't like my tabs to be too big, so I'm just going to cut a little piece off. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. Keep it, you know, at full length if you prefer. I just prefer to take it off on this. Then I'm going to do exactly the same on this side. So again, bringing my scissors in and coming down this side of the score line, and then coming in on the inside of the score line to remove it, and coming at a slight angle, and again down this side, and we'll remove that, and then we'll tuck everything away, and I'm just going to chop a little piece off the ends of the tab, as much or as little as you want, as long as you've got enough to glue it back down. Now I've got to the top end, so that was my 9 centimetre, 13, 22 and 26 score lines. So now I'm going to get rid of these two boxes, and all I'm going to do is exactly the same. Come down this side of the score line all the way down past the first score line going across, keep on going till I get to the second score line and stop, then turn it, and with this one I'm coming this side of the score line and going straight down until I meet that first cut, and that's that piece gone. And then I'm going to do exactly the same on this side, and then I'll lay it down so you can see exactly what I'm left with, which hopefully will help you if you're making the same little box. All the way down till we meet, making sure we get rid of the score line. Gone a little bit on the wonk there, hold on one sec while I just neaten that up. There we go. So there's my waste. I'm just going to get rid of that. I keep a handy little bin. This is supposed to be for kitchen waste, but I thought it's nice and handy to have on my desk. Right, so now's the time to start popping your patterned papers on. So I've got my two pieces that measure 12.5 centimetres by 8.5 centimetres. I've got my two pieces that measure 3.5 centimetres by 8.5 centimetres, and I've got my top which measures 12.5 by 3.5. Okay, so what we need to remember when we're gluing this in is that this bit with our tabs, this is the base. so everything will stand up from there. So when we are popping our papers on, we want to make sure that they're on the right way. So that one goes that way, and that one, I turn it round, goes that way. But then when we lay it down flat, they're both in opposite directions. So that's just something to remember. So this is the front of the box, this is the back of the box. So I'm just going to double check that I've got the pieces that match up. That doesn't. Is it this side that matches? Or that side, is it? No. Hold on. Oh, it's this side. Right. 1 second. So this is the top that goes on there. That goes on there. And then I've got my handle drawing there. So that's my pieces. So the pieces that match up go on the front. 1 second. Let me think again. Let me think again. I've done that wrong, haven't I? I wonder how many eagle-eyed people were watching and realised. So these go this way. Right, there we go. That way. This is the back of the box. This is the top, which will be the same way as that. I'll pop that on afterwards once I've got it all lined up correctly. So I'm going to grab some glue and start laying it down. I'm glad I realised that before I let me have a think again. Let's bring in this one. I want to make sure I get it absolutely correct. Yes, that is correct. Yeah, I am right. Ah, dear. Sometimes you just doubt yourself, and I didn't want to start laying it down just to prove what an idiot I am. So, first one down, like that. I'm just watching those score lines to make sure I've got it right in the middle. So I've got a nice border all the way around. I'm going to grab this one and do the same. Paying attention to your edges so it doesn't lift while it's being used for all those treats. And then putting a bit round. Missed a bit of the edge there. Corners, I think, are the most important bits. So we'll pop that back in like that, watching those borders again, and then I'm going to do my two edges as well. So plenty of glue on, but not too much. We don't want it going everywhere. And this is like oh, when I say plenty of glue, put some on, Theresa. I think the bottle's getting a little bit clogged up. I have to squeeze extra hard to get it out. So pop that one on there. And last one. So this one will go on here. Like that. I've put some glue on, haven't I? I don't want to be faffing around unclogging it, taking up time, because as most people know, I do it's a one and done with my videos. I'm afraid I haven't quite got my head around the technology to to get it edited and things like that. Far more cleverer people out there than me. So to make sure that we've got this lined up, all I've done is fold over, and then I'm going to tuck that in, and then I'm going to bring in my little piece which measures 12.5 by 3.5, and I'm just going to line it up like that. If I turn it that way around, you can see that it matches. So that piece came from there, so I'm going to pop it on there to make sure I've got it the right way around, the right orientation, because otherwise all that time measuring and cutting would have been for nothing. So a little bit much on the glue there, but let's flatten that down, and then I can pop it on that lid bit. So that's all my decorative papers on, and then all I have to do now is put it together. So see, this is where I can get a bit mixed up, which is why I do it that way. If you look, that's facing that way, this is facing the other way, so they're all facing different ways, which can get a little bit discombobulating. Okay, so I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to start gluing it together. So I'm going to start with these tabs and glue those down first. And that one. Now, what we need to remember is that these sides, without any decorative paper, these go on the inside. So I'm just going to bring those, easily sit them up like that, and glue those in place like that, and do the same that side. Once I'm happy with the placement, I'll move that out of the way so you can see. Once I'm happy with the placement, I'm going to put it on its side and use my bone folder just to push the glue into the card, and the same, and the same on that side. You could, I like wet glue, I think everybody knows I prefer to use wet glue, but if you wanted, you could use double-sided tape as well, just as easily. So once you've done that and you're happy, we're now going to bring these pieces up with the patterned sides on. So lay that down and let's put some glue on, and it doesn't matter, I'm going to pop them on these. You could put it straight onto these if you wanted, doesn't make any difference. Just make sure that you put glue all the way around those edges, and I think this, hopefully you can see where I'm popping my glue. So I'm staying, there's my score mark. So I'm staying this side of the score mark because I don't want to end up gluing things that shouldn't be glued. Some down the middle just to give it a bit more strength. I'm going to use my finger just to take it to the edges on here, because I want it to glue really well on those edges, so that whilst it's being used, it's not getting it's not starting to come apart. And all I'm going to do is stand that up and bring it across like that, and do the same on this side. Line it all up so it's nice and straight on those edges, and then I'm going to use my bone folder just again to push that glue into the card. So that side and then that side, and we're almost done. So now what I want to do next is grab my corner rounder, and I've got one of these, and I prefer to use the 2.5, which is the wider one, but use whatever you've got. Or if you haven't got a corner rounder, what you can do is just get your scissors and cut at an angle, ever so slight angle like that, so that we can tuck this lip inside the box. So I'm just corner rounding both sides like that. That one looks a bit skewy, so let's go in again. No, still skewy. There we go, that's better. So that then means that my box can tuck in like that. If you prefer, you could cut a little bit of this lip off to make it less steep and easier to tuck in. And if you find that your handle is a bit lower, you might want to think about doing that. with your box anyway. Right, let me just make sure that glue is adhering nicely to that those edges. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to pop that there to dry. I'm going to pop that on top so there's a bit of weight on it, and I'm going to work on the handle. So we've already glued that decorative paper on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back in, and this time I'm going to use the 1/4 inch, the smaller one. So I'm just popping that in there. I'm just putting a tiny little round on each end. Oops, get that, and that one I'll show you in 1 second what that looks like. So I've got some paper, so just corner rounded both ends just to give it a bit of a finished look. Then I'm going to get a little piece of card. It doesn't matter what colour because it's going to go on the inside, and I am looking for my circle. So I've got this tiny little circular punch like that. You don't have to use this if you don't want to. I just prefer this because it gives it a little bit of strength to your handle where it joins your bag. Pop that away. 2 pieces of circular card, black if you prefer. I'm not that fussed at the moment, so I'm just going to put some glue on that, and I'm going to put it at the ends, and these are where I'm going to put the holes for the bag. Now I'm using, let's pop that down and then I can talk. I'm using a couple of these split pin, they have got a name, can't remember what it is. I've always called them split pins just because you split the pins at the back and open them up, and that's how I'm going to hold my handle on to my bag, because let me show you, it means that I can move my handle like that. If that's not a problem, then just glue this in place on the side of your box. But let me just show you how I do it. So I'm just going to glue that one down as well. So I've got one at each end, and what I'm aiming to do is to punch a hole at each end so that I can get my split pins through. I'm bringing in my crocodile, and I'm going with the thinner, the smaller hole at that end. Ooh, I need to clean it out, there's lots of bits coming out. And I'm just going to pop a hole in there. Whoops, that's not cut very well, has it? So popping a hole in that end, and then the same in this end, like that, by eye. Let's bring the box back in, and I'm going to do the same on each side. So make sure I've got the smaller end, popping that in, punching a hole, and I'm only doing it by eye. So I've got a little hole there, flip it over, do the same on this side, again just by eye, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to roll it on the end of my desk. So I'm just pulling it off the edge of my desk so it breaks at the fibres and gives me a bit of a curl on my, whoops, on my handle like that. So I'm getting a curl, not brilliant, but it'll sort itself out in a minute as I pop it on. So I'm going to get my split pin, bit through there, and then thread it through that hole there, and then split the pins on the inside to hold it. So the light in here today is not very good, never is this time of year unfortunately, but yeah, just about. So you've split the pins inside like that, And I'm going to come around this side and do exactly the same. So pin in there, through there, and then split it. This one, hopefully, yes, because I'd already split it slightly, so that one's going to be a little easier to open. And there we have a little treat bag. Oh, last thing before I completely forget, because I very nearly did, open it up. I'm going to move that handle out the way, and I'm going to bring in, this is a 1.5 inch punch, and I'm just going to turn it over, and I'm going to put a little finger lift there, little finger lift punch. So it's only tiny. Let me show you. That's all I've punched out of the circle on that, and that just gives me a little finger lift for opening the box. So let me thread that back through the handle, push that in like that, and there's our box completed. And you can decorate up the front if you want, add some stickers, what have you, and then on the night add some sweet treats inside, which is what I'm going to do for the grandchildren once I've done all 5 of them. So there's 2 done, 3 more to go. So yeah, I'm enjoying this Halloween makes. I think I'm having such fun. So I'll see you in the next one. You take care. Speak soon. Bye for now.